Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me okay? No? Sage? It's on.
Should be.
Can you hear me? I would like to welcome everyone. No, can't hear? Oh, okay. I would like to welcome everyone tonight. Thank you for coming out in this cold, cold weather. Good, good. A couple of things I want to talk about. We have 2 donation boxes tonight. One is for the Chautauqua programs itself, and one is for the beautiful building. So as you're leaving, if you could give us just a little, we would appreciate it. Now I'd like to introduce Betty Jo Brenner. She's from the Colorado Humanities, and she will introduce our speaker for the night. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Can you hear me okay? What a wonderful turnout from the community to this educational program. It's certainly our pleasure to be here. I'd like to welcome you to this Black History Live Tour performance of Becky Stone as my Angelou. My name is Betty Jo Brenner. I am the program coordinator for the Black History Live Tour. And as I said, it's my pleasure to be here today to introduce this program to you. First, I would like to thank the Canyon City Public Library, Suzanne and Kendra, who I've been working with, for sponsoring and partnering with us to bring this program to you. Last year, I think we were at the theater on Main Street, and well, how nice of you to invite us into this beautiful historic church for our program this year. Each year to celebrate Black History Month, Colorado Humanities presents first-person dramatizations of African Americans who made significant contributions to American history. Following the monologue, which is about 40 minutes, our speaker will answer questions first in character as Maya Angelou, and then out of character as a scholar. Becky Stone, our speaker, is a living history presenter who has been featured in 2 other of Colorado Humanities Black History Live tours as Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman. Her acting credits include many Southern theaters and living history festivals, along with a background in drama and theater. Becky has a master's degree from Villanova University in elementary education. Now, let's go back in time with Maya Angelou. Oh, before we go back in time with Maya Angelou, I'll just remind you to silence your cell phones, please. And thank you so much for filling out the evaluation. I'll be at the door at the end to hear from you all. And please stay afterwards a little bit if you'd like to talk to our scholar. So now, let's go back in time with Maya Angelou. It's The year is 2004, and Dr. Angelou comes to us from North Carolina, where she teaches at Wake Forest.
When God put Noah in the grand old ark, he put a rainbow in the sky. When the thunder rolled and the sky grew dark, God put a rainbow in the cloud. God put a rainbow in the cloud. God put a rainbow in the cloud. When it looked like the sun wouldn't shine anymore, God put a rainbow in the cloud. God has put so many rainbows in my life. I'm not going to be able to share all of that with you tonight, but I relish the opportunity to be here with you to talk about the power of words. Who among us can deny that words have power in our lives? What we think in language, we speak. I was impressed with the power of words when I first read in the Bible that God spoke his creation into existence. Now that's power in words. We don't have that kind of power, but we do have the power to create. We can tear things down, or we can build things up. We can create things anew with how we use our language. Now, I have spent my life crafting words into story. And critics, some critics, have called me a natural writer. That comes right after natural heart surgeon. You see, writing is work. As Nathaniel West said, easy reading is darn hard writing. And I work at it. When I take on a writing project, I get up at 5:30 every morning and I'm at work. By 6:30, I have gone to a hotel room that I have rented for months. I strip everything off of the walls. There are no pictures, there's no telephone, there's no television, just the bed, the desk, the lighting. And I walk into that room with my stack of yellow legal pads and a fistful of ballpoint pens. I write everything out in longhand. I also take with me a Bible, a thesaurus, a dictionary, a bottle of sherry, and a deck of cards. And I'm sorry to say that it used to be a carton of cigarettes in an ashtray, but it is no longer. Now, the cards I use to take, well, it's not really a break. You see, I find that if I play solitaire, that my small mind and my hands are busy looking for the patterns of red and black, and my large mind can work on things. And then I go back to the writing. It's part of the process that's solitaire. Now, I consider myself a poet, although many of you might know me from writing my autobiography. I started as a poet. I loved poetry. And I grew to love it during the 5 years that I did not speak. I was in Stamps, Arkansas, and Mrs. Flowers, the aristocrat of the Black community in Stamps, would invite me to tea, and then she would read to me. And she started with A Tale of Two Cities by Dickens, but then she moved on to poetry and pretty much stayed there. There must have been something about my face that told her that I was loving the poetry. You see, finally she told me, "Marguerite, I think you love poetry, but you'll never truly love it until you feel it roll over your tongue, through your lips, and out your mouth. Till you do that, you will never truly love poetry." And that motivated me to take all those poetry books that I had been reading under our house in Stamps, Arkansas, and to start reading aloud. And that very slowly but surely brought me back to speaking. I should tell you why I chose to stop speaking for 5 years. You see, when I was 7 years old, I was raped. Now, the rape of anyone is a brutal thing, but the rape of a child, is a matter of the needle giving because the camel can't. It's the body of the child giving because the mind of the perpetrator, the violator, cannot. I thought I had died. My family thought that I was sick with the measles. They kept me in bed and were checking my temperature, and my brother Bailey, who was 1 year older than I, he was reading to me and taking care of me, and he was the one who discovered my soiled panties that I had hidden under the mattress. And when he found them, he said, "My, who did this? Who did this to you?" I didn't answer right away. And then I finally told him that I didn't want to say because the man said that he would kill me and kill Bailey if I told. Killing me was not the problem. I really thought that I was dying already. But I couldn't let him kill Bailey. My big brother was the light of my life. I loved Bailey. So, and Bailey's response was to laugh and say, "I'm not going to let anybody kill me. Who did this?" And so I trusted the words of my 8-year-old brother, and I told him. And he told our mother. The man was familiar to our family because he was our mother's boyfriend. So, when I was released from the hospital, I testified at his trial, and he was found guilty. But a day later, maybe that very evening, I was home and overheard when the police came to the door and told my grandmother that they had found Mr. Freeman's body in an alley, and it looked as if he'd been beaten and kicked to death. And in my 7.5-year-old mind, I thought it was my words that killed him. That's when I promised myself, I swore, that I would not speak again. How was I to know when I would hurt someone else or kill someone else I loved? And so, I stopped talking to everyone except Bailey. Let me tell you who I was in Stamps, Arkansas. I was Marguerite Annie Johnson. And our parents had been met and married in St. Louis, Missouri. But they had moved after both Bailey and I were born to California, and there they got a divorce. And they sent us away. They put us on a train with a tag that said, "Take these children to Stamps, Arkansas, to Mrs. Annie Henderson, our father's mother." And they put us on the train and we went to Stamps. I was 3 and Bailey was 4. And there, we were raised by the woman we call Mama. Annie Henderson was known and loved by everyone in the black community and probably quite a few in the white community. She owned and ran the only general store in the black part of Stamps. She was a large woman with big hands and a soft voice. Everyone knew her, so everyone knew us. They would say, "Oh, Sister Henderson, you see, you got your shadow with you this morning." And I was that shadow. I felt so safe and loved there. Didn't feel that when you cross the tracks into the white part of Stamps. You were carefully taught before you were allowed to cross those tracks by yourselves how to speak, what you could say, what you could do, and what you could not do for your own safety. I couldn't even look up at people with eye contact or smile. Oh, I would try it every now and then, but they would look at me with such loathing. When our father came to get us, I was 7 and Bailey was 8. We thought we were going with him to live with him in California, but he took us to live with our mother in St. Louis. And there, I was raped. And afterwards, when I refused to speak, I was just too morose or sullen a child for them to put up with us anymore, and so they sent me, along with Bailey, back to Stamps. But there, people accepted that I was not going to speak. They embraced me. Even the children at school. You can imagine that in these small black schools, one teacher would have children of several grades in her class. And when we came back to stamps, and I had not been speaking for several years. Finally, it happened that Bailey and I were going to be in the same class. And not only that, there was going to be a new teacher, and we would both have her. And on the first day of class, she had every student stand and say their name and what their previous year's grade had been. And when it got to me, I stood up and started to walk to the board. And she said, "Where do you think you're going?" And the children responded, she doesn't talk, Miss Williams. She's going to write her answer on the board." And she said, "Oh, I've heard about you. You're not going to do that in my class. You go right back there, young lady, and speak your answer to me." Well, I was confused. I didn't know what to do. I knew that I couldn't speak, but I also knew that I needed to be obedient, especially to my teacher. And I didn't say anything, but I was getting stressed. And Bailey popped up and said, "She'll write on the board, Miss Williams. Just let her do that." No, speak, said Miss Williams, speak. And she was getting more and more angry all the time until finally she just slapped me across the face. And with that, I ran out of the classroom crying and ran all the way back to Mama's house. And when I ran in the door, she said, "My sister, why are you here?" Bailey had followed me home, and he got there in time to answer her and tell her what had happened. And she said, "Junior, you go back to class and get your lessons. Marguerite, you go out to the pump and wash your face, cool it off." And she took off her apron, told Uncle Willie to take care of the store. And we marched right back to that school and straight into Miss Williams' classroom, where Mama said, "Miss Williams, do you have a grandmother?" And Miss Williams confessed that yes, she did have a grandmother. And then Mom said, "Well, this is my grandbaby." And she slapped Miss Williams right across her face. And then she turned to me and said, "Marguerite, what I did was wrong, but I was trying to teach a lesson. Now you go back over there and you get your lessons." And she left. And no one spoke about that incident again. And when I got home that afternoon, Uncle Willie was out on the front porch, and he said, "Marguerite, there's something special for you sitting on the kitchen table." And I went in there, and there was Mama's caramel cake, made from scratch. Oh, it's like putting heaven on your tongue. I was thrilled, and I took it back out to the porch to cut it and share it with everyone, and Uncle Willie said, "Now, Marguerite, that cake is not for anything that you have done. It's just to show you that we love you." I was loved. At the age of 14, my brother Ben saw something you wouldn't want anyone you love to see. He was in the White Park Steps, just as some white men were dragging out the body of a black man that was all stinky, rotten, and mutilated. And they just grabbed the first black man they saw, including my brother, as they carried us back to the jail. So they said, "Yes, boss," and carried it on to the jail and laid it in the cell that they were told to put it. And when they turned around, the white men had shut the jail cell door and locked him in there and started to walk away. Bailey was in panic. So were those other men, and they said, "Oh, boss, we didn't do nothing to be locked up here like this. We just did what you told us to do." And those men turned around and laughed. Then went over and unlocked the cell and let her go home. When Bailey shared that, Uncle Willie was there. And Bailey asked, why? Why do they hate us so? And Uncle Willie said, well, it's not hate. It's more like fear that makes them act so mean. And then Mom decided right there for sure that Sam's was not going to be a safe place for Bailey to grow into his man. So, she made plans with my mother to send us out to California. She took me first, and Bailey followed a month later. And there I was at the age of 13 to live with my mother, a woman I did not know, who I did not love. Time passed. Bailey arrived. Mama left. Must have been 6, 8 weeks. My mother had a sit down talk to with me in my room. She said, Maya. By that time, my brother's nickname for me had become my family nickname. She said, Maya, since you've been here, you haven't called me anything. Now, I understand that you might not want to call me mother or mommy, but you need to call me something. What would you like to call me? And I thought a moment, and then I said, Lady. Lady, she said. Why would you want to call me Lady? And I said, because you're too pretty to be a mother. And she was, too. She was everything that I was not. She was small. She was clever. She was confident. She was pretty. She did all kinds of remarkable things with such energy and confidence. She would walk into a room and immediately draw everyone's attention. Well, she said, I like that. You can call me Lady. And then she took my face in her hands and she said, Maya, since you've been here, haven't smiled. I would like you to smile for me. And so she tried to get me to smile. I lowered my eyes. I did my best not to look at her. She was saying funny little things and making funny faces. And finally, I couldn't help it anymore. I smiled at her. And she smiled at me with tears streaming down her face. She said, Maya, I knew it. You have a beautiful smile. You are beautiful. And she kissed me. And as well as I knew deep inside that all of my family and Stamps loved me, they had never told me I was beautiful. And they had never kissed me. And from that moment on, I was hers. And she She loved me and accepted me for who I am and who I was then, as a full person. And to the point that when I told her, when I was just about to graduate from high school, that I was going to have a baby, she asked, "Does he love you?" And I said, "No." She said, "Do you love him?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, we're not going to make 3 lives miserable. You're going to have this baby. And we're going to love this baby. He will be ours." And she did. And we did. And that's where my first autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, ends. With my finishing high school, giving birth to my only son, and starting out on my adult life. Caged Bird. It's a book that I certainly didn't think I would write. But I had some friends who made sure that I did. You see, I was in a terrible depression after Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And Jimmy Baldwin came to pull me out of that depression. You know how depressions are. You can barely move, you can barely eat, and you certainly can't sleep. "Come on, Maya," he said, "I'm getting you out of here. Get cleaned up and get dressed. We're going over to Jules and Judy Pfeiffer's to have a dinner and an evening out." And if you think I'm dropping names, I am. So we went there and drank a lot and talked and shared a lot of childhood stories. And the next day, Judy Pfeiffer called Bob Loomis, her friend who was also an editor at Random House, and said, "You know, Bob, I think I just met someone who has a book in her." And you can ask Bob, he'll tell you he's heard that line many a time. But for some reason, he trusted Judy, and he started asking me if I was interested in writing an autobiography for him. He would be the editor. And I told him no. First of all, I was too young to write an autobiography. Come back in 20 years, I said. And then when he would ask again, "No, I am not an autobiographer, I am a poet." And he asked again, and I would say, "I'm about to go to California and write and direct a 10-part series for public television on Black American culture. No, I don't have time to write an autobiography." But then Jimmy told me later that he spoke with Bob and said, "If you want Maya to do anything, you have to tell her that she can't." So he tried again. "I understand," he said, "that you might not want to write an autobiography because it's nearly impossible to write autobiography as good literature. It's nearly impossible." Well, I didn't have to think. "I'll try," I said. "I'm not sure how it will turn out, but I will try." And because of who I am, my mother and my grandmother, my mama, because of the way they raised me, I knew that I had to be honest. I had to reveal all of myself. And then, after working with Bob, when that book was about to be published, I panicked. "Oh, I've been honest," I said. "I revealed all of myself. And people are going to disown me. They're going to hate me. They're not going to accept me and love me, and we all need some love for what we do. I was terrified. But it was just the opposite. People loved the book. And they loved me. And after thinking about that, I have only been able to decide that because I had the courage to look at who I am and what had happened in my life and to forgive myself, it gave my readers courage to forgive themselves. And it does take courage to forgive, to love, to be honest. I believe that courage is the most important virtue in life. Because if you do not have courage, you cannot practice any of the other virtues with consistency. And so, I would like to close with words of encouragement. That we all recognize the courage it takes to get up every day and go to work, or to have patience with your children or with your parents. The courage that we call upon every day to not only survive, but to thrive. You can write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You can trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? So sorry. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head, lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your eyes. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Out of a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping, wide, welling and swelling. I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. our chance to have some dialogue, a chance for me to hear from you or to answer questions about things that I've shared or other things that you might be curious about. So, yes. Well, I chose Still I Rise, because that is one of my favorites, and I realized she's asked if I would recite other poems, but the other poems you suggested are quite lengthy, and I would really like the opportunity to talk and hear some other thoughts than just perform my poetry. But perhaps, another time. Or perhaps I could read one verse of, I did bring in, I am getting up there in years, I would need to read one of the others, but I could read a stanza from something. Okay, let's see. I brought some, and I think I have them in a large enough edition that I can see them without my glasses. Let's see. Shakespeare, but these are long poems. Perhaps Phenomenal Woman. The first stanza. Are you familiar with Phenomenal Woman? Hey, this has been a very successful poem for me, and I did get a Grammy for the reading of it, recording of it. But I have enjoyed many women, especially younger women, doing this poem. And let me just see. Here's the inaugural poem. I think the first stanza or two of that is not complete enough. If I can just read from Phenomenal Woman. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to fit a fashion model's size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms and the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curve of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. And with each verse, I'm trying to point out that who we are as women and not how we look is what makes us phenomenal people. Only I'm making it exclusively our gender, phenomenal women. And now, I'm sorry, I feel so we come report to meetings sometimes.
Thank you very much. Could you please talk a little bit about your relationship with Malcolm X? I find it's kind of odd that this refers to like you being reprimanded by him twice. So could you just speak to that relationship?
Yes. The first time, at the time that I met Malcolm X, I was the coordinator of the New York office of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I had been replaced by Bayard Rustin in that position. But I had also formed an African American women's political action group. And we were set on a demonstration at the UN, which we thought would be a small, peaceful, but meaningful demonstration there. And the word had gotten out, and many people showed up, a few too many. And when Adlai Stevenson announced that Patrice Lumumba had been assassinated, we felt that the United States was directly involved with that, and people started screaming murder, assassins, and lies, and then in the scuffle that led to getting those people out of the General Assembly, it just led to chaos with mobs and policemen, and was in quite a disarray, but it drew everyone's attention. So we thought, well, this should really please Malcolm X. Maybe he would support us. And so Rosa and I went to, Rosa Guys, not Rosa Parks, and I went to see Malcolm. And he said basically that what we had done was not the right thing to do, and that we made a display of ourselves and it was ineffective, and that, he wouldn't have anything to do with it. The Nation of Islam was not going to be connected to anything that would endanger the lives of Black people with the police and team. So we were a little taken aback, but that was the last time that we tried to stage anything. But between that reprimand and the next reprimand, I had gone to live in Africa for quite a while, and he, Malcolm X, had gone to Mecca, and that went through a spiritual transformation where he felt that the whole Nation of Islam, Muhammad approach to gaining civil rights was the wrong thing, the wrong process. And he was going to African nations, trying to get their support for the struggle we were having in the United States. So that he had changed by the time I met him in Ghana. And I thought that I had changed. And he asked me, I was quite honored to drive him to the airport. And so as I was driving, he asked me what I thought of Shirley Du Bois. Her husband had just died, W.E.B. Du Bois. And I just let out with a stream of all of my anger about how she was so upper class, she had no idea what the average Black person was struggling with in the United States. And Malcolm, when I was finished, just said, you cannot do that. You need to get that kind of anger under control and understand that every person is needed in the struggle. Every class, every background, every race. We need to find allies. And I didn't say much in response, but I took it all in. But before he got on the plane, he said, I need a woman of your strength and your vision, just not your anger. And he asked me to help him with his new campaign in the United States. But he was assassinated before I had the chance to do that.
I always ask.
But it does not for everyone else.
Did you keep any kind of a relationship with your father at all during the rest of your life? Was there anything there?
The last time, everyone heard the question. The last time I saw my father, I was a teenager, 14, 15, right after we moved to California. He had barely come and stayed with him. We were not, our parents were separated. He was in Southern California. And then when Bailey came back, I was to spend 6 weeks or so with him during the summer. And that was the last time that I saw him. For both Bailey, but especially for me, as I described in my autobiographies, it was a horrible visit. His new girlfriend or wife that cut me with scissors. My father did not come to my defense. Eventually I ran away and lived with some homeless teenagers there in San Diego until the wound healed. And then I felt I could contact my mother. I did not want her to see me with this wound. And I went back to her. She sent me the money for the train ticket. But I never saw him again. I was informed when he died, but I did not go to the funeral.
I'm just curious if you could elaborate on your son a little bit more.
Oh, and Guy. Yes, Guy is the love of my life, and he survived my being his mother, which is all to his credit, I should say, not mine. I left. I told my mother when Guy was just a few weeks old that I was going to go out on my own. And she said, go do that, but know that I'm always here for you in your life. And I found not very great jobs in very cheap places to live, where I would have a room and kitchen privileges, and the landlady would take care of Guy while I was working. We were separated. I did do a year in Europe, touring with a company that was doing For Me Invest. And there was the few weeks that I left behind with the landlady when I heard that my mother was seriously ill. And when I got back, the landlady and my son were not there. But those, until he finished college and got his first job, we were inseparable that whole time. I had plans to live and work in Liberia. He got into college in Ghana, and that's when I passed on that job. No, I need to be with Guy. So, and he's married and given me beautiful grandchildren, and he's worked in the corporate world, but he's been writing, and he has published a book. So I hope he'll continue writing.
I think it might be time now for us to introduce Becky Stone, and feel free to ask her any questions about her research and her performance. Thank you. Any questions for Becky? Well, I'll start off. We were in the car today. There's a couple things that you told me was that she became very close to her mother. And it was a nice story.
Yes. Her relationship with Lady changed, and eventually, I have not read yet in an interview where she made a point of saying when she switched over from calling her Lady all the time to calling her Mother, but eventually she did. And she exhibits a lot of the characteristics of her mother. She's definitely her mother's daughter. But her mother has had to come to her rescue several times to save her life, because she had been beaten to a pulp by, I think one of Angelou's faults is that she was always seeking the perfect man, and she made bad choices. And one of her bad choices was with this man who ended up, he was crazy. He was slowly but surely, kidnapped her basically and was beating her. And just by sheer coincidence, someone said, "Hey, I think that's Vivian Baxter's daughter," that in the back of that guy's car all beaten, and once the word got back to her, she had enough kind of shady connections, because one of Vivian's things was she ran a gambling house. So she certainly knew the underworld very well, and she was able to break down the door, pistol in her hand, two big goons, backing her up, and get her daughter, save her daughter out of that situation. Angelou was kind of losing her sense of self, and when one of her scripts was being filmed, the first film that she was ever connected to, in Sweden. And her mother immediately found a flight to Sweden and went there and advised her and supported her just the way she did when she was pregnant with the baby, and just the way she did when Marguerite wanted to work as a streetcar conductor in San Francisco. Her mother built her up. Her mother was so strong, and she knew that Maya had that kind of strength and determination. So, no, they were very close. Eventually, Maya was this big success and traveling and teaching and lecturing in England, and her mother was succumbing to cancer and emphysema. She left that job, went and got her mother and brought her mother to North Carolina to see different doctors. And those different doctors, you know, in California, they said, oh, she has 3 months to live. The doctors in North Carolina changed the treatment. And so her mother spent her last 6 months. She lived another 6 months under Angelou's care. And it's one of those spiritual things where, you know, Angelou tells the story beautifully of going to see her mother who finally was in a coma in the hospital and telling her it's okay to go. And Angelou goes home that night and she wakes up in the morning, doesn't do her hair, doesn't change out of her pajamas. She jumps into the car and races to the hospital. And the nurse says she just left. You know, but you know, they were very, very close as Maya moved into her adulthood.
What happened to Bailey?
What happened to Bailey? Oh, I have this story. Poor Bailey. He left home when he was 17. It was legal for him to join the Merchant Marines. While he was there, he got involved with heroin, was a dealer and an addict. He met a wonderful woman and married her, and for the few years that they were married, all was hunky-dory. And then she died suddenly. And Maya could not rescue him out of the drug that he fell back into it. He did kind of get it together and come to live with her. He spent the last 2 years of his life living with her in North Carolina. And because she was there, she could kind of keep him clean and as healthy as he could be. But, you know, he died. And she just was not able to spend time with him. She tried to get him one time, and he said, you know, get out of here, Maya. This is my sister. She's never coming here again. You know, she found him in some drug house. So that was not the best relationship. But she loved him, and when finally he was willing to let her bring him home, let her help him. You know, so.
Any more questions? Oh, there.
Oh.
Could you tell us how it happened that you read a poem at the Clinton inauguration?
Oh, how did it happen that I ended up writing, was commissioned to write a poem for Clinton's inauguration? You know, Stamps is not very far from where Bill Clinton was born and raised. And so, and she was very excited about his candidacy to be governor of Arkansas and knew that family very well. So it's not surprising, they were such good friends, it's not surprising that he asked her, but she was really upset that she had to do this thing. You know, it was just like, write and read a poem at your inauguration. And he asked her as soon as he was elected. And she immediately went out and rented that hotel room. And, you know, I can't quote the page numbers, but it's something like she wrote hundreds, like 600-700 pages worth of poetry before she got it down to what, what she liked. And that's how she came to read it. She wasn't going to tell him no. And you ask her to do something, especially if you're a friend, she's going to try. And so she did it. It's a great poem. It's very long. Yes. Oh, well, I'll let Betty show us that.
I think about my being a fan of Maya Angelou for a long time. The women's movement now is very interesting. Somebody from my generation, we didn't have power. And one of the most impressive things I read in one of her biographies was a very simple thing. She was with some gentleman, and they were getting ready to go out one night to a banquet or something. And she walked in the living room, and he said to her, I don't like that. I think you should change. She did. She changed partners. She kicked him out more than
Yes. And I think that's where, her mother had carried knives and pistols to defend herself. Maya never went that far, but, she stood up for herself. Finally, she learned to stand up for herself. And she modeled that for women, for all of us, and certainly encouraged her young friends. She's mentored a lot of young women, but the most famous is definitely Oprah, who she mentored.
That was an amazing performance, by the way, but I was curious, Ronnie, how you prepare for your performance. It seems like it's kind of like a method acting, but sort of things.
I do draw on my acting training and my acting experience, and I draw on my storytelling background. But anytime you get a character, kind of what is expected is that you read everything that they have written, and then you move to what people have written about them. And I have not read everything. Maya has over 30 published books. And I haven't read, she's written a children's series. I've read 2 or 3 of her children's books. I've read the essays, the poetry. I'm not a poet. It doesn't stick with me. But I have read all the poetry, and I go back occasionally and review parts of it. But I've read all the autobiographies, and I tried to read all of her stuff first. There's tons of stuff on YouTube, on the internet. A lot of it is incorrect. When she died, there were just all these things written about her. That's all right. I never said that. I read her cookbooks. She includes stories in her cookbooks, and she was known for being a great cook and throwing great dinner parties. But in her Hallelujah, the Welcome Table, the whole story about her grandmother going and slapping the teacher is from the cookbook. It's not in her autobiographies. So it's fascinating. I got all the stuff about writing. I found that the Paris Review had a lengthy interview with her about her writing process. And I really have dropped a lot of it because it just gets too long and detailed unless I'm talking to English, writing students. But, so I subscribed to the Paris Review so I could have access to that online. And it's a great book. The other characters I do, there's not nearly so much. But because she was so prolific and people interviewed her, I'm always finding out new things about her. And, she talks about, in her autobiographies, about the beginning of her professional dance career with R.L. Poole. I think that's what she calls him. And then later, in 2 other interviews or essay things, she talks about it again. And it was Alvin Ailey, and I don't know if you know enough about African American dance to know who Alvin Ailey is, but that's who she danced with when she first. She made up some name, and she did check with everyone that she mentions in the autobiography, including her ex-lovers, you know, this is what I'm going to say about you. And they all said, you know, this is the truth. You can write it. You know. So she was fascinating.
Have you portrayed any other characters?
The only 3 other Chautauqua characters. And the first one was Polly Murray, who most people do not know. And then, and that's part of the reason I got asked, because they couldn't find a Chautauquan who was already doing her. So the Greenville Chautauqua Festival asked me to do her, and then they asked me to do Harriet Tubman, and then Rosa Parks. Those are my 3. Before I did Maya. I just added Maya about a year ago.
You mentioned that once you moved south, you became a storyteller. Could you just speak a little more about what prompted your
Oh, what prompted me to tell stories? Having 4 children. You know, I loved acting, but if you're in a play, and especially, well, even when I work with professional theater companies, you're rehearsing all the time. You can't raise 4 children and rehearse all the time. And performances, they control your time. You sign that contract. And so, storytelling, I could raise my children, put them to bed, and then I could rehearse on my own, and then I could work doing schools and libraries while they were in school. So that's what got me into storytelling. I do love performing and learning. Every time you do anything, people will have you read poems while they're dancing, you know, and you learn. You learn from doing that. I portrayed Diego Rivera when other people, you know, were Frida Kahlo, and I realized I didn't have to dance, they all danced around me. But, you know, you learn. So I just love what you learn when you know, experiment with performing and get to go to different audiences. And that's what I like about Chautauqua. You know, this is the first time I've been here. I'm really excited about you people and you showing up on this cold, snowy night. You know, I love it. And so when people say, and I tell them I went to Colorado, I said, oh, you skiing here. No, I was in Canyon City, I was in Rifle, Parachute, and they're like, whoa. So, you know, it's wonderful to get to travel. Back here.
Let's see, did you also look at audio recordings and film of Maya Angelou when you were researching portraying her, and how helpful were they?
Whoa, I didn't get all of that. Something about film and...
Oh, just about, it's 20 years.
So everyone can hear.
Thanks, yeah.
Hold it up.
Let's see, did you listen to audio recordings and watch films of Maya Angelou, and how helpful were they when you were creating your portrayal of her life?
Great. I'm glad you got the mic, because that answered a completely different question. The videos of Maya Angelou helped a lot. And all I do in terms of, you know, kind of copying her, you know, I know that I need to lower my voice to pitch-wise to do her. And I chose a physical thing from watching her, and that when she smiles, I feel that what I see her doing is pulling this lip tighter over her lower teeth. And that's what I do to set me into what I do as her character. Because if you really, as a Chautauquan, if you try to mimic someone, you just can't. You just can't do it. So that's what I've chosen. And recently, I just, you know, I read about her so much, I can't keep track of her, I get everything. But partly related to the trauma of the rape, she said she thinks about it every day, and that that they made the observation that she never fully smiles, that there's always, you know, some pain there. And so, and that helped me in terms of acting and portrayal, to read that.
So when she went to California to be a scholar, by that time she was speaking.
Yes, she, I haven't read anything about when she first ventured out speaking, and, but she said she was 12 years old when she started speaking again. And, you know, I don't know if they all went, ooh, you know, what their reaction was, but she started speaking again.
We have one more question here. Is there someone that you would really enjoy portraying in the future that you think about?
I have thought about that. and I do, you know, I talk with other people who actually talk with festivals about who they're interested in. I'd like to do, you know, people like Barbara Jordan or whatever. But I would like to do Josephine Baker. I don't know if you know who she is. But not only did she escape, you know, here and go to France and have become rich and a big famous entertainer. You know, you look back on what she did, and what she did was like filling, you know, race stereotypes that I'm a little uncomfortable with. I have a black friend who is also a dancer, and she wears a little banana skirt and does a dance in honor of Josephine Baker. And I must admit, the first time I saw her dance, I was like, ooh, hard to watch. You know? But she came back to the States, had adopted all these children of different races, was very outspoken and, you know, a part of the movement to change, you know, civil rights and our acceptance of each other. I feel like she was more into our acceptance of each other rather than legal, you know, political battles. But I have a stack of books that I found in various places to read, start reading about her.
Well, thank you all. Let's give Becky a hand.
Do you want this paper?
A long time ago, and now I do. Yeah, all my friends bailed on me last minute. So it's like, Mom, we're going to
Make them know that.
like, come on, Becky.
It's gotta be the tip of the spear.
Yep.
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
All right, you take care.
Yeah, see you on credit.
All right, oh, I shouldn't have said anything. I'm stealing his phone.
Are we going to sing? Oh,
Nice seeing you, Joanne.
See you later.
See you later.
We felt okay, I'll put this one back. We're gonna put it in the box.
it.
So then it's hard for you to.
It's hard for me to do the research. That's when I see it.
Yeah, if you're like me, you know. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
That's great. No, she spoke in so many places. You don't have any great anecdotes.
She did want you to, I thought it was funny because I was young at the time. She came out, it was mostly the Congress girl. And she was good. How many of you
Got everything off back here.
Yeah, we're looking good. So, gonna have an someone to come back, and Sage says he wants to go when that happens. But so, you know, what this has just evolved over years with different people having their hands on it, and so very few people know the full extent of how it's set up or what it can do. They just know the little piece that they need, and then so he comes in this one time and he's trying to unscramble all this, and I said, well, here's what I think we need, but I was wrong. So I didn't know they were doing the audience mics. So we'll set it up differently.
It's pretty good.
She was a very positive person, and she thrilled with
So I think the secret, and Sage already said it, was that we'll just come up with 2 more outputs, put them into the first 4 channels, and then set it up that way.